up your engine. Now, a lot of people still want to have a station wagon these days. They're hard to find, so I'm going to show a used one a customer just bought. It's a 2015 Volvo XC70. Technically, it's called a cross-country station wagon. But as you can tell by looking at it, it's got nice lines, and really, come on, it's a station wagon. It looks like a station wagon. It is a station wagon. And unlike earlier Volvos, which are some of the ugliest, squarest, boxiest cars in the world, this thing's got some style to it. And of course the big question is, do they hold up like legendary Volvo station wagons? In the past, I had customers that got 500,000-600,000 miles out of the old Volvo station wagon. And I got the original window sticker on this one. It was $48,325. Okay, so they weren't giving them away. Well, customer bought it for $14,900. And how is it held up? Now, the customer bought it with 104,000 miles on it. Let's see what it's got on now. It's got 109,000 miles on it. And a lot of people think, oh, Volvos get old, they turn into money pits. Not this thing. He's changed the oil in it. That's all he's had to do to the thing. He's thinking about beefing up the rear suspension. If he wants to drive like a maniac, he can go right ahead. It handles quite well the way that it is. It is sporty. There's no arguing that. The Swedes have learned a lot in the past. They don't just make clunky box little economy machines anymore. They make these sweet looking station wagons. And it is hard to find a station wagon these days. And you consider the original person paid 48 grand and he paid like 14,990 for the thing used. This thing's got a lot of life left in it. We'll check under the hood. It's got a twin turbo T6, straight 6-cylinder engine. A lot of people years ago forecasted the death of the straight 6. They're very solid engines. Was it the other day I showed that some clown got like 961 horsepower out of an old Jeep straight 6-cylinder engines. This has a twin turbo. It's got tons of power. It's got 300 horsepower and 325 pound-feet of torque. Hey, this thing gets up and goes. It's a solid Volvo vehicle, so you feel safe driving it around. Volvo was the first one to really make cars safe. So you got a fast but safe car. No, old Scotty here would have never paid 48 grand, and my customer's smart. He didn't either. You pay a lot less. Look at the shape it's in. Listen to the quality. You slam that door, it sounds like an old car door. It doesn't sound like a piece of tin or aluminum, or even worse, some of the cheap plastic cars. It's got the Volvo all-wheel drive. This baby's not going to get stuck, and hey, for a Volvo, ooh, it's got dual exhaust. So it's not phenomenal gas mileage, but it's not horrendous either. He gets about 18 miles a gallon driving in the city, and if he takes a road trip, like he did recently, he got 25 miles a gallon, which is actually pretty good for this much horsepower. I've driven brand new SUVs and crossovers that got a lot worse gas mileage than that, didn't have nearly the power that this thing has. And of course, it's a Volvo. So if you got a family, it's family oriented. Nice black and chrome interior, but a lot of space. Tons of space. You want more space? It's got a luggage rack. You can throw a ton of luggage on there if you want. We'll check the trunk. Look at all that space. This is a space machine. You got all kinds of space in one of these things. Now, my customer bought it at a dealer, but it was a one-owner car. A couple of ladies had bought it together. They ordered everything they wanted on it, took care of it, and as soon as it was out of warranty, they traded it on another one. They obviously weren't customers of mine, because if they would have brought it to me, I would have said, do not trade that thing in and lose $35,000. It might go another 100, 200,000 miles. Relatively trouble-free. It was a foolish thing getting rid of this car just because the warranty was up. Now, if this would have been a Chrysler or a Jaguar, that'd be a smart move, but of course it'd be a dumb move to buy one of those new anyways. Now, if you can afford buying a Volvo new, go right ahead, it's your money. If you want to drive it forever, go right ahead. But it's foolish to buy one of these cars and then trade it in as soon as the warranty's gone, because they're pretty well made. They're not going to fall apart when the warranty's up. Now, if if you're looking for a safe family station wagon, hey, you get that kind of a price, 14 versus almost $50,000. Hey, not a bad deal. I'll show you how it works. You take it for a spin. Put it in a remote key. Let's see if it starts. What a surprise, it starts right up. The AC is blowing freezing cold. Bought a car, so it's got a backup camera on it. Now it's got 109,000 miles. The first thing you notice is how quiet it is idling. Does it shake? Not one bit. And when you take off, it really feels secure. Handles quite well. Still got all the original struts. Still rides fine. Being a Volvo, it's safe. It's got giant brakes. Stops on a dime. Corner's really good for something as big as a station wagon. It is all-wheel drive, so we'll punch it and see what those 300 horsepower can do. It gets up and goes. Shifts like a dream. This baby's got power. There's no arguing that. Those twin turbos, man, they kick in. This might be a station wagon, but man, it takes off like a race car. Yet with all of Volvo's safety features, it's a very safe car. Now, if I was wilder like in my young days, I'd run it into a pole just to show you how safe it was. But it's not my car. Maybe one day I'll revert back to that and knock a car out just to see what can happen. No one knows why the UPS man was stopping in the middle of the road, but that's people these days. They don't seem to know what the heck they're doing when they're driving down a road. And just check, even on a bumpy road while I'm swerving to hit the bumps. Hey, this thing is still pretty smooth. This was a well thought out station wagon. And it might have over 100,000 miles on it, but aside from a tiny bit of valve clatter, it's one smooth engine. These Volvo engines will often make a little bit of valve clatter as they age. Doesn't really mean anything. This thing goes like stink, doesn't burn any oil. The transmission shifts like a dream. These are solid built vehicles. And yeah, like everything else these days, they're extremely overpriced when they're brand new. But if you can get one in this kind of shape, one owner was maintained at the dealer, and they just got rid of it when the warranty was up because they didn't want to have a car with no warranty. You get a car like this, I'd try to pay less, but you're never going to get a deal much better at a dealer. Let's face it, I mean, they always ask too much for cars, but you get something this clean in this kind of shape, you bite the bullet. Even I've done that myself, getting cars for my wife. See a beautiful car, runs like a dream, but they're asking a few thousand too much. Sometimes you just say to heck with it, and you buy it realizing that you're saving so much money over what the original one was. Who really cares? Now when you look behind the plate, you can see something. Came from New York, and there's a funny story. The present day owner lived there. What did he do? He took the train to the Volvo dealer, and then he road tested it for an hour. Now, he didn't own a car at the time. He took the train there. So these guys in New York trusted him, and he road tested for a whole hour. I imagine they were wondering, geez, what's this guy doing? Personally, I find that kind of interesting that they'd even do that in New York State, though I assume the dealership had insurance on the car. And maybe, this is during the COVID, maybe they were hoping he'd steal the car because nobody was buying cars and they'd get the insurance money, which of course would be full price. Maybe they wanted him to steal the car, but he did come back after an hour and then bought it. So much for in a New York minute. These New Yorkers, hey, they let him go 60 minutes. Then he came rumbling back in and bought the car. So things may not be as bad in New York as you might think. But interestingly enough, the owner of this Volvo, for a while, he lived in New Orleans. And while he was in New Orleans, he had 3 Nissan Pathfinders totaled while they were parked on the street. Well, nobody ever accused New Orleans of being a sober city, that's for sure. But he had 3 Pathfinders, and every single one was totaled by some drunk when he had the car parked on the street and he wasn't even in it. Interesting enough, he also had a Volvo that got rear-ended, but that was by one of his drunken friends who later moved to China, so Nobody's gonna catch him there. It's a strange world. So now you know a lot more about this Volvo station wagon. I'm not going to call it sports anything. It is a station wagon. It is an excellent station wagon, especially if you can be the second owner of people who took care of it the first time and save yourself a ton of money and have a $15,000 car that might go another 100, 200, 300,000 miles. So if you never want to miss another one of my new car repair videos, remember to ring that bell.